Hello there, it's Detective DJ, and welcome to our weekly show, The Crime Crushers, starring Detective DJ and her team. We thank you for coming in to listen to us, and we hope you enjoy this week's episode, The Emerald Egg. Okay, so down to business. The scene of the crime is one where we have a sunny summer's morning on a small beach in the Caribbean. It's a very warm morning, and a few hours ago, 2 body bags washed ashore, and it's now being surrounded by the crime scene team. The headlines in the morning's city's paper screams, "Top British secret sleuth Barenteau slain." A yacht called the Emerald Egg is anchored out in the bay, and not too far from where the body bags washed up. Now, the yacht is painted in an emerald green color with goldish stripes. The Emerald Egg is stenciled on both sides of the boat as well as at the front. A Union Jack is proudly displayed on its mast, and the police have boarded the yacht and have reported the following. Nothing seemed to have been disturbed except for the security cameras. All the cameras are still intact except one was smashed. The owner seems to have been a very neat person. His computer had been found turned on. It appeared that the victim had been caught surfing the internet when the crime happened. A half-full glass of beer had been found near to the computer. Passport and personal papers were also found. Wallet with money was also found. And an empty cell phone case was found as well. The owner's bunk was found all made up, very neatly done. His clothes were found all neatly folded. The galley was clean. Cupboards were well stocked with food. And dishes, utensils, pots and pans were all in their place. The remains of a chicken meal was found in the fridge. According to Dr. Shay Harrington, a resident psychologist, she believes the following. This crime was carried out in a remote spot, and the perfect occasion was when the victim was left alone. And the victim's reason for being there, according to Dr. Shea, is that the owner lived there, so she's suspecting that the owner was the victim. Now on to part 2, and here's where we get down to some of the nitty-gritty of this crime. According to Chip, our investigator, the motives for the crime could have been as follows. Certain international agencies wanted Barry Barenteau dead. That's the broad picture that he is painting. He has identified some characters that we need to take into consideration. Vladimir was probably one of the suspects because he was sent by the Russians to kill Barry Barenteau. Young Tai was another one sent by the Chinese to kill Barenteau. So far, these are the 2 that he has uncovered for us. Now, let's look at Chip's investigation. Let's see what else he has turned up. Barry Barenteau was a top British secret agent. He had made quite a name for himself on the international scene. He had stolen the secrets from the Russians and the Chinese, and he had brought them back to the British. Pursuers had chased him across the globe, from the dusty streets of Cairo to the crowded markets of Lebanon, from the tree-lined boulevards of Paris to the beautiful plazas of Rome, from the dirty harbors of Hong Kong to the busy streets of Tokyo, and from the bustling streets of New York to the ice hockey rinks of Montreal. Seems as if this guy was really globetrotting. Barry Barenteau had been running for more than a year now. Vladimir had almost cornered him in Paris and Rome, but had lost him in a crowded cafe in a plaza in Rome. Yang Tyne had thought that he had cornered him on a sampan in a Hong Kong harbor, but he too had lost him. Both men had tracked Barenteau to a concert hall in New York, and then to a hockey game in Montreal, and then finally to the Emerald Egg yacht in the Caribbean. Barenteau had known that he could not run forever, so he had decided to end things once and for all in the Caribbean. He had bought the Emerald Egg yacht in the States and had taken her to a small Caribbean island. There, he had outfitted her with the best and latest technology. Then, he had spent hours learning how to sail the Caribbean seas. He had chosen this particular island because of its remoteness. Its location was one where it would have been easy for him to leave in an emergency and easy to get away from. He had been living on his yacht for about a month when things just went bad. Vladimir had managed to track him after he had bought his yacht and had followed him to the Caribbean. Yang Tai had followed Vladimir knowing that he would lead him to Barenteau. Vladimir had also had a very personal score to settle with Barenteau. They were half-brothers, they looked very much alike, and Barenteau had stolen secrets by using Vladimir and had defected to Britain. Vladimir never forgave his half-brother. Yang Tai too had a personal score to settle. Barenteau had previously killed his brother in a covert operation. So, let's look at the suspects. Vladimir for personal and professional reasons, and Yang Tai too for personal and professional reasons. So let's see what the cause of death was to this poor old victim. Was it Barry Barenteau? We'll soon find out anyways. Well, there were two victims. Both victims had died of single gunshot wounds to the forehead. They had both died instantly, and British Embassy officials were being asked to identify at least one of the bodies. After further investigation and looking at all of the reports from my field agents and everybody else, here is how I think it happened. Barenteau seemed to be ready when it all happened. He was at his computer on this particular evening and he knew that the time had come. He had readied himself for the inevitable. He watched the killer as he approached the yacht and saw him smash the security cameras. However, the killer missed one of them because Barenteau had hidden it well. Barenteau watched as the killer ascended the plank leading to the yacht, and the killer ascended quietly and cautiously. At the door leading to the deck, he halted for one moment, watched, waited, and listened to make sure that nobody was around. Barenteau watched. Barenteau had left the door ajar. The killer took a quick look around and proceeded stealthily forward. Barenteau readied himself. The killer found the steps leading down to the galley and the main quarters of the yacht. He descended quietly, and at a quick glance he saw that the galley was empty. He then spotted the glow of a light and followed its source. The killer found his prey sitting at his computer, and he did not hesitate. A single gunshot slammed into the back of the victim's head, and the victim fell across his computer. The killer muttered under his breath as he fired, "You get what you deserve, bastard." As the killer turned to go, a shadow fell in front of him. But the killer was too late. The last thing he saw was a flash, and then total darkness. As the killer fell, there was a second shot, and then there was total silence. So now on to part 3, and let's give you a very brief summary of what has happened so far. It's a beautiful, warm and sunny morning in the Caribbean on a very small beach. 2 body bags have washed ashore. Anchored not too far from where the body bags were found is a yacht called the Emerald Egg. It is painted in an emerald color with gold stripes with a Union Jack on its flagpole at full mast. The crime scene is one where the victim was found slumped over his computer because he had been shot, and the second victim had also been shot. We have the 2 suspects pegged here. These 2 suspects, Vladimir and Yang Tai, were both tracking Barry Barenteau across the globe because Barry had deceived them or gotten them into trouble for both professional and personal reasons. Barenteau was the half-brother of Vladimir, and Barenteau had also killed Yang Tai's brother in a covert operation. So, these are the 2 suspects. We're not sure who the heck these 2 victims are because the British Embassy has been called in to identify at least one of the bodies. So, very, very confusing. Let's look at part 4 and look at some of the questions that you may want to think about before coming to your conclusion as to who committed the crime. Whose bodies were in the body bags? Could an empty cell phone case be a clue? Has Barenteau really been killed? These are the questions you need to figure out before deciding who done it. Let's give you some more teasers here. 2 people were killed. Somebody placed those 2 persons who were murdered in those 2 body bags and flung them overboard. And the 3rd person managed to get away. Who survived? You know what? Barry Barenteau survived. And I'll show you how. Vladimir was the one who ascended the stairs of the yacht, and he found who he thought was Barenteau at the computer and fired a single shot. Barenteau had planted a life-size dummy there in his place, so Vladimir had been fooled. He had dressed the dummy in his own clothes, and when Vladimir fired and the dummy fell across the computer, Vladimir didn't check to see whether it was Barenteau or not. He thought he had gotten his man, so he was getting ready to leave. Bit careless, eh? As he turned to go, it was Yang Tai who fired and killed him. Yang Tai had followed Vladimir onto the yacht, watched as Vladimir descended those stairs, watched Vladimir kill who they both thought was Barenteau, and as Vladimir turned to go, Yang Tai pulled his trigger. He thought he had taken care of business by killing Vladimir, and he, too, did not stop to check for anything. As he turned to go, Barenteau shot him dead. Barenteau then placed the 2 bodies in 2 separate body bags, shoved them overboard with all his might. They slipped overboard and went on their way. He had developed a plan before Vladimir's visit. He had obtained these 2 body bags from the British Embassy some time before, and a friend had helped him to make up the life-size dummy. When he saw Vladimir approaching, he had placed the dummy at the computer, and had gone and waited. He watched and smiled as Vladimir shot the dummy, and he watched as Yang Tai shot Vladimir, and then he shot Yang Tai. He then picked up his cell phone and called the British Embassy, and he was instructed to leave everything behind and vacate the yacht. This he did, and the only thing he took was his cell phone. He left the case behind. So there you go. The Emerald Egg, another mystery solved. We hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for coming by and listening to us, and we look forward to seeing you again next week. Bye-bye.